It's Pastor Trish. It is Monday evening, February 7th, and we are looking ahead to the coming week, this coming Sunday, February 13th, and we will be in the Gospel of Luke. At Messiah this week, it's going to be another conversational sermon, this time with Kim Hendrickson, who is our incoming vice president for the year. So it's a chance to get to know Kim, and he and I will talk a little bit about this gospel from Luke. Before I read it, though, I want to just bring you up to speed in terms of what Jesus has been up to. We left him yesterday, this past Sunday, having invited the disciples to come, or some of them, Peter and James and Andrew, to come and follow him and fish for people. And after that, we've skipped several verses here until we get to the reading that you're going to hear this coming Sunday and here in just a couple of minutes. So Jesus was out doing some traveling, lots of teaching, lots and lots of healing has occurred in these in-between kinds of verses that we are skipping over. And then the last part of the verses that we've skipped is that Jesus actually calls and names his 12 disciples. So he's had a number of people following him, is the way Luke relates this story, lots of followers, and he's called them together, and from them chosen 12 disciples, and he also calls them his apostles. And the difference between a disciple and an apostle, make sure I get this right again. A disciple is one who follows a teacher, is learning from a teacher. The apostle is one who is sent out to share those teachings and to share that news. And so they are sent out as witnesses as well. And Jesus has called these 12 both disciples and apostles. Once he's done that, he was up on a mountain doing that, up on a hillside, and had bring that group down. There are others on the plain or on this level area, and Jesus begins to teach again. And this is the message that he's delivering to both those who have been newly named as his disciples, as well as all others who have been following and listening to what Jesus has to say, perhaps being healed from him, all of those things. And so this is what he says, Luke chapter 6, beginning with verse 17. Jesus came down with the 12 and stood on a level place with a great crowd of his disciples and a great multitude of people from all Judea, Jerusalem, and the coast of Tyre and Sidon. They had come to hear him and to be healed of their diseases, and those who were troubled with unclean spirits were cured. And all in the crowd were trying to touch him, for power came out from him and healed all of them. Then he looked up at his disciples and said, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Blessed are you when people hate you and when they exclude you, revile you, and defame you on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, for surely your reward is great in heaven, for that is what their ancestors did to the prophets. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you when all speak well of you, for that is what their ancestors did to the false prophets." This is just the beginning of his teaching. We'll go on next week and hear kind of the second part, and there's actually a third part that we won't hear because we'll be moving into the season of Lent after that. We're going to talk, like I said, more about this passage on Sunday, but what I wanted you to listen to in this particular moment is the part that says, "Blessed are you," and then later, "but woe to you," and just talk a little bit more about what a blessing and what it means for having a woe. Blessed, often we think about that as being happy, joyful, those kinds of things. With blessed, everything is wonderful, but you can hear in this, everything's not wonderful. If you are poor or weeping or hungry, that's not cause for happiness or being wonderful. But blessed in this sense, if we go back and try and parse out those original Greek as well as Hebrew words in this case, because we're drawing from some Old Testament understandings, blessed is really more of being satisfied, perhaps being, I should check my notes here too. I had even better words for that. Satisfied, or about being on the right track, being almost like having your head on the right way. Being respectable is another word that you could use for being blessed. Others would look up to you, and that's often how we talk about it. What Jesus is doing is turning that word upside down, and Luke is really good at doing this great reversal, is what we call it. Often, again, in the Old Testament and ancient times, to be blessed meant that you were prosperous, that people looked up to you for what you had, what you did, for who you were, your status. And he's taking that understanding of the word, being respectable, being satisfied, people looking to you, and assigning that description to those who are often on the outcasts or the outside of society, or on the edges, those who are poor, those who are vulnerable, those who are weak, and saying, you are the ones to be seen with respect and dignity. You are the ones that we should look up to. In the same way, he takes those woes, and we often think about the woes as curses, but they're not really curses so much as a imperative to look out, to watch out. Kind of like, whoa, be careful. Be careful what you're doing. And he applies that. Again, it's this reversal. When everything is going well for you, watch out. Be careful. Another way that I heard it was that you think about woe as almost like the opposite. When Jesus says, don't be afraid, for you are blessed, he's saying to those who he's giving them the woe, it's watch out. It's kind of the opposite of don't be afraid. Be fearful. This isn't going to last. It's not what it's all about. And so you want to be careful. This kind of passage is often hard for us to hear because it's easier for us to identify with having things, being full, not being hungry, not being poor, and so it's hard for us to hear that. But one thing to remember is that Jesus is talking to the entire crowd, people of probably lots of different economic means, lots of different life circumstances, and perhaps part of this is to remind us that when things are going really well, we often forget about God and don't think we have need of God. And the reality, the converse is true. When things are difficult, that's when we notice and need and sense and experience God at the greatest, in the greatest way, or experience God at its greatest. And so we often have a combination of both blessings and woes throughout the course of our life. And Jesus is reminding us of that and encouraging us, I think, in many ways to be cognizant of that. More about it next Sunday. Hope that you can join us 8:30 and 10:30, or online 8:30 or anytime after that. Hope you have a good evening and a good week.